Now, as we asked, what is space-time? Cursorily, it is, in a sense, as we said, a structure imposed upon your consciousness, upon the unbroken consciousness of your being, your spirit, your soul, if you wish. The space-time structure itself is your ego. There is no difference between what you call your physical ego mind and the space-time structure. The very existence, the very creation of space-time, of creating the idea of time and space, generates the ego itself. Because you need that perspective in order to experience space-time. An analogy would be, as we have said many times, the idea of a diving mask to explore under the water so you can see clearly. By going into physical reality, by changing your frequency to have a physical reality experience, it's like diving into your ocean. Without the idea of a mask, everything would be very murky. You need the focus so you can see clearly in the new realm, the new environment that you have projected yourself into, that you have, in that sense, dived into. So the ego is that mask. The ego is that lens through which you will experience the idea of physical reality. The ego's job, in a sense, the ego's definition, is just to keep you focused in the physical reality experience. Without that, you would not be capable of making sense out of the vibrations you call physical reality. So, that is why the ego structure is part and parcel of that nature, of that space-time structure. It's one and the same thing. As you create a space-time structure, you create an ego structure in order to experience it. They go hand in hand. They're simultaneously coexistent and co-created. Now, when we say ego structure, again, we don't necessarily mean it in the negative context, because we understand that many people on your planet experience the ego structure in what you call a negative way. The ego's basic job is not negative. In a sense, it's not even really positive per se. It's just neutral. It's just to keep you focused so you can have a physical experience. When the ego structure is given the label or defined as something that must do all of the creating in that experience, when it is given, in a sense, more than it was designed to do, when you stretch it and strain it beyond its design tolerances, so to speak, then it starts to fight back. Then it starts to resist. Then it starts to rebel. Oh, it will do what it can. It will do the best it can. But believe me, by overburdening it with something it was not designed to do, it builds up, in a sense, and I don't mean this emotionally, I mean this physically, it builds up a resistance, like a spring. When you press on it, it resists. It bounces back. The bouncing back is what you experience, in that sense, as resistance in your life, and the idea of the negative ego comes about when there is more and more and more pressure put on the ego to do what it wasn't designed to do, and it rebels and resists and bounces back harder and harder and harder and harder, until such time as that pressure, that resistance becomes the overwhelming signature frequency of the ego structure, and then it creates and generates the idea of a personality out of control, in fear, resisting the natural self because it no longer believes there is anything but the ego structure. Because the ego structure has been given so much energy, so much focus, it becomes the overwhelming, overriding vibration of your life, and it blots out the idea of your ability to remember that you are spirit, to reconnect with the higher mind, so on and so forth. This is why it is so important to relax the idea of the ego to a certain degree, to let it do its job, so that in allowing it to do only what it was designed to do, it can thus let you feel the communication coming through your imagination from the higher mind.